So I've seen a few videos on YouTube and TikTok of people saying what they would do to Jurassic World Evolution 2 if they were the CEO of Frontier. Taking a page out of their book, I'm going to do, if I was the CEO of Frontier, how would I make Jurassic World Evolution 3? So Jurassic World Evolution 2 was a big jump from the first one, adding marine life and more flying reptiles and customizable aviaries. New missions and extra features like Chaos Mode were added, so I feel like Jurassic World Evolution 3 would need to stand out from the previous two, so we would have new missions, and some of them might line up with the films, others will be to like save failing or destroyed parks, and others would focus on rounding up populations, a bit like what we can already do. Obviously we would have like the challenge mode in there, with obviously a campaign, things like that. But then I'd have like a new feature where we would have like a Site B or a sanctuary mode in there. No buildings required, it's a full-on wildlife park. Missions could be added to this to get like photos of certain animals, and you have to like drive around or walk around to find these certain animals to get the required photos that are needed for the mission. For the sandbox mode, you would have like all the maps from the story modes, and the new thing that I'd bring in would be an island generator. This would follow in the lines of like Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, where you could pick the shape and the amount of forest and like how many mountains and how high you want them, and also the amount of rivers running around it, which I feel like would be a really cool addition to the game and would add that extra customization at the beginning. For new features, I would add like biome domes, a bit like the ones we see on the Manticore Island in Camp Cretaceous. For example, we could have like a snow enclosure in a jungler environment. These would also be placed down the same as you'd place down aviaries and lagoons in Jurassic World Evolution 2. You'll be able to add like viewing platforms for the guests within and on the walls of the domes. Within the settings of each dome you can choose like the weather setting within it. So you can have like a snow biome with it snowing, you can have a desert with like sandstorms and rainforests, or any other kind of like biome with rainfall, and so on and so on. Basically, if you're in a desert map, you can still have like a tropical jungle enclosure with like tropical rainfall within the biodome, which I feel like would be a really cool, neat feature to add to the game, and will add to like some like interesting customizations. Next new feature would be the water physics. I'd have it so you can change like the depths of the water, so you can place like water reptiles and fish out of lagoons, so you can have like a more interesting Site B without having to place lagoons all the way around as an ocean. This would come with a whole host of new animations for the creatures, land creatures being able to swim and water creatures being able to hunt them during this process. Amphibious creatures also lurking near the coast can dart out and like drag the prey into the water. Flying reptiles would be able to hunt like the fish food out of the water whilst it's swimming around, and such things like Mosasaurus could jump up and catch them mid-air, which would be like a really cool hunting like scene to see. The water upgrade would also come with like a water biome brushes, such as coral reefs, low growing seaweed, and kelp brushes, along with like water physics to be able to connect different height pools via addition of waterfalls and rapid down inclines. Lagoons would also get to use these new features, and then the ability to like free custom them rather than being like a circle, so you'll be able to have like square lagoons. Also the ability to add tunnels, so paths can go all the way through the lagoons, or if the lagoon is narrow enough to have a bridge to be able to go over it, which would add for some very interesting scenes and customization. Aviaries would keep their dome shape, but would be able to edit the ground lower, so this would increase like the height for the flying reptiles. Along with this would be a more specific aviary decorations, such as false cliffs with areas for them to roost on. Guests. Something I'd love to see changed about that would be like to have less guest crowds and have them to be more interactive rather than large crowds of zombies showing how good the park is doing. What I mean by this is that they would have like names, favourite dinosaurs, different interests. This can be seen in like old games such as Jurassic Park Operation Genesis and the old Zoo Tycoons. Like this definitely added like an extra detail which I feel is definitely missing from the game. So let's take Dave. His favourite creature is Triceratops. He's happy and enjoys the more natural looking eco biomes, and then unfortunately Dave is dismembered by Velociraptor. It just adds more depth to the game, which would make it more alive and add that like management side of things, as you can go around seeing what they like about your park and what they dislike, and go and edit your park around like the certain type of customers you've gone and selected. So I'd upgrade the hotels just a little bit by being able to edit where the entrance of the building would be, so you can like change it to the way you want in the park and like help it fit in a lot better. Also being able to edit the colours and maybe add and change some of the decorations to each of the hotels. So as well, add extra building customization for your food, drink and gift shops, as well as making food and like gift and drink small carts to be added, so you can add more of them like in your park without having to sacrifice tons of land. Obviously these would have like less of an impact, but would still be there to keep general happiness in areas where you don't have that much space. Bridges and raised footpaths. This is so that you could like get over water sources or make interesting viewing points into animal enclosures, which would be very cool, especially for like sauropod enclosures. It'd be more convenient if you want a river running through and you just build a bridge over it without having to like mess around deleting water, putting a footpath on there, getting the water to it as close as possible, and using decorations to make a fake looking bridge. So yeah, it'd be something I'd definitely add. So the next thing I'd be upgrading in this one would be like the feeders and the water sources. So obviously with the herbivores you use the plants to feed them, which is really cool and a feature I'd definitely keep in there. But as well, I'd also add the option to be able to have like a herbivore feeder, just so if you're making a desert enclosure you don't have to have all these weird trees into your enclosure, especially if you're playing challenge mode. You can just put a herbivore feeder rather than using the plant brush to put their plant food that they like to eat. As well, I'd also add like a water source feeder, like a bucket or a trough kind of thing where dinosaurs can go and drink water. So not every enclosure needs to have like a little pool inside of it. And last on my list would be growing and breeding mechanics. So something I'd find kind of interesting, something really cool to add to the game, is the ability to watch your dinosaurs grow. So when you use the hatchery, you can choose at what point in life you'd like to take it out of the hatchery. May it be like a baby, a juvenile, a sub-adult or adult, and then you can just watch them grow up in their enclosures. As well, I'd love to see some kind of breeding mechanic in the game, so then we can have natural baby dinosaurs. So this is more specific for like the Site B sites. Like currently right now you have to constantly restock herbivores because obviously they get all killed off and eaten by the meat eaters. So it'd just be kind of cool just to keep that going on. I really hope you enjoyed this and enjoyed listening to my ideas for like a Jurassic World Evolution 3. I'd love to know what you'd love to see in the next Jurassic World Evolution, and let me know in the comments below, would you like me to do a video on what creatures I'd love to see in Jurassic World Evolution 3?